Hi, this is Eric Durak, and welcome to this edition of our GLP-1 module series. We have a series of them that they're all part of the GLP-1 manual. That is a continuing education course for working with persons who are taking all kinds of GLP-1 medications. So I would like to get started right now and share my this upcoming screen, and it's on one of my favorite topics, and it is on body composition. So I was involved with body composition back in the mid 1980s when I was a graduate student at the University of Michigan, and I studied with Dr. Vic Katch, who was a big body composition person, and we'll talk a little bit about this a little bit later. But body composition is a massive part of the GLP-1 experience. And I'm going to start, like I do with every module, by saying, as part of our disclaimer, that this is an education program. We're not here to prescribe or alter or really try to become, medically involved with GLP meds. Trainers are going to have to understand dosages. That's part of this course because you will be working hand in hand with dietitians, with nurses, with pharmacists, and with doctors. And these medications need to be altered at some point. And if trainers are starting to see changes with their clients, this is a great opportunity to be in constant communication with the other members of the medical team. So our sponsor for this portion here is SOS Nutrients. This company sponsored me at the IDEA conference. They have a very interesting micronutrient powder. And what's interesting is that a lot of people who are on GLP medications have trouble digesting foods because they are basically stopping peristalsis. And I'm trying to figure out in my research what types of foods, what types of supplements, what types of smoothies that people may want to take that will help get nutrients into the system efficiently without toxic residues, without synthetic types of vitamins, without stomach upset, without constipation, etc. I don't necessarily recommend SOS Nutrients, but I do tell people that the reason that I like the company is because they are the only super green formula on the market that sources all of their nutrients from whole foods all over the world, which I find to be amazing. So it's pretty unique. I would imagine that people on GLP-1 might want to inquire about it. They can go to sosnutrients.com and they can get information and see if this product is something that would be useful for a person who's taking these medications. So here's our agenda for our weight loss program. We're going to be looking at current and past research in body fat testing. We want to look in general the different types of body composition testing and what are we actually looking for in terms of working with people on GLP-1. We want to look at the clinical outcomes that doing body comp assessments can derive in working with this population, and then I'll just discuss at the end our exam process. Why is body composition so important with people who are taking GLP-1? And I remember when I was at the University of Michigan, I asked Dr. Katch in his office once, I said, Vic, I said, Dr. Katch, how come doctors don't use body comp testing? How come they just put people on the scale? And, at the time, body composition testing was very cumbersome. We'll talk about that in a second here. But what Dr. Katch didn't say to me is that doctors don't have time to do this. There's a time element back in the olden days, there was a big time element. You had to have people dress in bathing suits, go underwater, et cetera, et cetera. It was very time consuming and you had to do calculations back then. So doctors just wanted to do either a BMI or put people on the scale. Wow, you lost 25 pounds. That's fantastic. We want to learn a little bit more in terms of the elements of that weight loss, and that's where body comp comes in. So I actually remember reading in college that the first study on body density, aka body fat testing underwater, was done in 1942 by Albert Benke, who was a professor to some of the college teachers that I had. He was one of the big names in the field back in World War II and post World War II when more and more people were doing research in this. So they were looking at underwater weighing, which they considered to be the gold standard. But in my career, I really started out using skin fold calipers and found them to be very useful in terms of body fat in a particular place. And they had a lot of the tools and calculations that you could do to actually try to get it as close to the underwater weighing gold standard as possible. But today we've got research that looks at MRI scans, DEXA scans, and bioimpedance measures. Perhaps the easiest to use is impedance. We'll talk about that in a second. But I want to have you take a look at in 1981, the average 20 to 24-year-old man. Back then, on average, they weighed 154 pounds. They had 15% body fat, and their lean body weight was 136 pounds. So you can look at their muscle weight, their external fat, et cetera, for the average man. The average woman weighed 125 pounds, was 27% body fat, and had a minimal weight, lean weight of 107 pounds. So clearly, statistics have changed in the last 45 years based on what were in some of these older textbooks, some of which I still have on my shelves. So I had mentioned that BIA testing is sort of the in vogue now, and one of the ones that I see here is the one on the left is called InBody, and it is more expensive machine. You stand on it, but it gives a very good assessment of your total body fat, your total body water, and your lean tissue. Now, the one on the right is a handheld, I think it's a Omniron measurement, and you hold it in your hands, runs a small current through the body. And again, you can get body water, body fat, and lean tissue. I think that these are the three most important areas that we should be looking at in terms of body composition. And if you can do it with a handheld model, good for you. Just do it over time. If you can use a more expensive and accurate measurement like an InBody, good for you. Use it over time. We're looking for precision and we're looking for accuracy over time. The thing that I always found curious about underwater weighing is that you could have variations of 50% because someone didn't blow out the right amount of water, or they had certain type of food in their intestines that day, et cetera. So the correlations were not as high, and it was very cumbersome to do these types of measurements, which is why, again, I'm going to go back to body impedance and say that's probably the best one that we can be using right now in terms of comfort, in terms of quickness, and in terms of what I'll call accuracy over time. Which method is best? If you've got a DEXA scan, which is seen here on the right, and you can use that in your clinic or your club, good for you. It's a very expensive measurement. It does have some ionizing radiation, would not be my first choice. I've had a DEXA scan before. For bone density, it's unmatched. Skin folds have their place, but again, you have to learn how to do those. I mean, I've done thousands of skin fold measures in my career. I still think I'm pretty good at it, but there's not a heck of a lot of need to do it right now. A person can go to a gym these days and get a quick measurement with an impedance, and they're ready to go. For GLP-1, I'm going to recommend impedance. And one of the reasons why is the body water. In person who's taking these medications, dehydration is going to be a huge factor. And you can measure that body water by using BIA. So the lower the body water is going to correlate to a lack of energy and the inability to do an exercise program. It's almost like low blood sugars. There's a high correlation between the water and the blood sugars, and they're just going to have problems. Trainers can tailor their exercise intensity based on water intake and based on the results of their daily or weekly impedance measurement. If you feel they need to have 2 or 3 measures a week, measure 2 or 3 times a week. Again, like insulin levels and diabetes, your training methods are going to be dependent on the body water that those people have. Remember that some of them have not eaten in days. And if they haven't eaten in days, chances are they're not well hydrated at all. So let's look at in summary. I love body composition testing. I've been doing it my entire career. I think it's the most important physical measurement outside of what the doctors can do while performing exercise. You're going to get a lot of information just by looking at the big three: body water, body fat, and lean tissue over time as you are constructing and programming your exercise program. The intensity is based on the amount of body water, like I just said. Lower levels indicate dehydration, so your exercise training should be lowered. I wouldn't be surprised if some sessions are going to be drinking water and doing stretches because they may not have the energy to do a higher intensity program. And I believe that impedance analysis seems to be the best type of body composition measurement for this population. It's easy to use, it's reliable over time, and it really is the most non-invasive for people who are overweight. They don't have to take off any clothes. They don't have to have anybody pinch them or touch them too much. That may be a really big sticking point. BIA solves that problem. So again, I'm going to go with impedance. So our exam, just like our other modules, is on SurveyMonkey. And you can do it a couple things. You can log on to medhealthfit.com, go to the GLP page, and you'll see the overall link to the SurveyMonkey page. Or you can use this one, or you can just send me a quick email after you're done seeing this module, and we'll move forward from there. And we'll make sure that you guys can take the series of exams, or when you're done with the big reading of the manual, you can take one big survey. I've broken them up for our module series. I think it's going to be easier. So listen, I appreciate your time. I thank you for being a part of this module. If you have any questions, call the number, email me, go to the website, ask any types of questions you may need. We really want you to learn as much about this as possible. And I appreciate you guys being a part of this. And so this is Eric Durack for Med Health Fit. And like I say, any questions, let me know. And thanks for being a part of the module series.